Hello, this is Slate with Combo of Rocks, bringing you another video deck tech of a deck that we built and sold by request. If you're not familiar with us, we make and sell custom budget EDH decks. These decks are light on the budget, so they may not be optimal or competitive, but they're definitely fun and centered around a central theme that you can build on. So today we have Averna, the Chaos Bloom, which is Temur, green, blue, red for a 4/2 legendary elemental shaman. As you cascade, you can put a land card from among the exiled cards onto the battlefield tapped. So yes, this is a Cascade deck, and this allows us to ramp pretty hard, which allows us to cast this next card, which can also be a commander. Maelstrom Wanderer, 5 Temur for 7/5, legendary elemental. Creatures you control have haste, and he's got double Cascade. Avalanche Tusker, 2 Temur for 6/4 Elephant's Warrior. When it attacks, a defending creature blocks it to this combat of Fable. Just a good surprise creature here. Good to Maelstrom Wander off, because he'll have haste, and then you can surprise one of your opponent's creatures. We have Mizzix, Replica Rider, 4 and red for 4/5 legendary Goblin Wizard with flying. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, like cascading, you can pay 1 blue-red hybrid. If you do, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. If it's a permanent, it gains haste. On the beginning of your end step, sacrifice the copy. Nira, Wild Mage, 4 blue-red for 2/7 legendary human elf shaman. Whenever you cast a spell, you can put it on the bottom of its owner's library. Note that if you cast a spell with Cascade, you still get the Cascade trigger, even though the spell goes on the bottom of your library. If you do reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card, cast that card without paying its mana cost, and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Triggers only once each turn. We have Bloodbraid Challenger, 3 green-red for a 4/3 elf berserker with Cascade and haste. You can also escape it from your graveyard for 3 green-red and exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard. Ethereum Horn Sorcerer, 4 blue-red for 3/6 artifact creature Minotaur Wizard. You can pay 1 blue-red to return it to your hand, and it does have Cascade, so you can cast this over and over multiple times in a game if you return it to your hand. Shardless Ancient, 1 green-blue for 2/2 with Cascade. Unexpected results, 2 blue-green, shuffle your library, reveal the top card. If it's a non-land, you can cast without paying its mana cost. If it's a land, put it on the battlefield, and then return this to your hand. Just a cool way to get something random. There is some big things to hit with this. Otherwise, we're just ramping, and that's not too bad as well. Mystic Genesis, there are some counter spells that have some added benefits. So 2 green, blue, blue, instant counter target spell, put an XX green ooze onto the battlefield where X is that spell's converted mana cost. You obviously don't want to cascade on your turn into a counter spell. Oddly enough, you can counter your own spell if you want to. And again, there are some large spells creating a big ooze. Lots of counter spells in this deck that have multiple options. So that's if you do cascade on your turn and hit a counter spell, there is another option. Sakashima's Protege, 4 blue-blue for a 3/1 shapeshifter with flash and Cascade. When it enters as a copy of any permanent that already entered the battlefield this turn. Evacuation, 3 blue-blue, return all creatures to their owner's hands at instant speed. Kind of neat to cascade off of. Also, returning some of your Cascade creatures to your hands so that you can recast them. Smoldering Stagecoach, 3 and red for a star 5. Power is equal to the number of instant and sorceries in your graveyard. When it attacks, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn has Cascade with Crew 2. Bloodbraid Marauder, 1 and red for a 3/1, can't block. If you have 4 or more card types in your graveyard, it does have Cascade. Aurora Phoenix, 4 red for a 5/3 Phoenix with flying and Cascade. Whenever you cast a spell with Cascade, return this from your graveyard to your hand. Let the Galaxy Burn, X 5 red, Cascade, deals X plus 2 damage to each creature that didn't enter the battlefield this turn. Dark Apostle, 3 and a red for a 3/3 Astartes Warlock. 3, tap, the next non-creature spell you cast this turn does have Cascade. Wild Magic Sorcerer, 3 and red for a 4/3. The first spell you cast from exile each turn has Cascade, so if you cascade into a spell, that spell will then also cascade as well. Anzrag's Rampage, 3 red, destroy all artifacts you don't control. Then exile the top X card of your library, where X is the number of artifacts that were put into the graveyard from the battlefield this turn. You can put a creature card exiled this way onto the battlefield. It gains haste, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. We have Apex Devastator, 8 green for 10/10 with 4 times Cascade. Yes, it does Cascade 4 times when you cast it. Even if this spell is countered, you still get those Cascade triggers on cast. Thunderfoot Baloth, 4 green for 5/5 Trample Beast. As long as you have your commander out, it gets +2/+2, and other creatures get +2/+2 and have Trample. Sweet Gum Recluse, 4 green for 0/3 with Flash, Cascade, and Reach. It's a spider. When it enters, put 3/1 counters on any number of target creatures that entered the battlefield this turn. We have some Mana Rocks, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Gruul Signet, Izzet Signet, Simic Signet, Talisman of Impulse, Talisman of Curiosity, Talisman of Creativity, Navigation Orb. This is a cultivate type effect. It does grab gates, and there are some gates in this deck. Ingenuity Engine, 7 mana, Cascade, 1 tap, sack an artifact, return an artifact you control to its owner's hand, including this thing, which then you can recast for Cascade. We also have another artifact with Cascade. It's an 8 mana 7/7 Golem with Cascade. Emoti, Celebrant of Bounty, 3 green, blue for a 3/1 with Cascade. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 6 or greater, they also gain Cascade. If it already has Cascade, it gains another instant, such as the Maelstrom Colossus. Bloodbright Elf, 2 red, green for a 3/2 haste with Cascade. Is it Charm? Again, if we want some counter spells in this deck that have some other options. Blue-red, choose 1, counter a non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2, deal 2 damage to your target creature, or draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Decisive Denial, blue-green, choose 1, a creature you control fights a creature you don't control, or counter a non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3. Herald of Setsinich, 4 blue for a 3/3 flying Cascade. Forceful Denial, 3 blue-blue Cascade, counter target spell. Spellgeyer, 2 blue-blue, choose 1, counter a spell, or surveil 2, then draw 2 cards. Supreme Will, 2 blue, choose 1, counter a spell unless its controller pays 3, or look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Remand, this one's neat because if you Cascade into it, you can actually counter your own spell and return it to your hand in order to Cascade again, but you can also counter an opponent's spell. It does go back to their hand, but you draw a card. Boarding Party, 5 and a red for a 6/3 haste Cascade Human Pirate. Volcanic Torrent, 4 and a red Cascade, deals X damage to each creature and planeswalker your opponent's control, where X is the number of spells you've cast this turn. Throes of Chaos, 3 and a red Cascade with Retrace, so you get to cast it from your graveyard by discarding a land card. Meteoric Mace, 4 red equipment, equip creature gets +4/+0 and has Trample with equip 4, also has Cascade. Soul Seer, 2 and a red, instant, deals 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker. That permanent loses indestructible until end of turn. Pinnacle Monk, 3 red for a 2/2 Jin Monk with Prowess. When it enters, return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. This one can also be a tapped or untapped red land if you want to pay 3 life. Annoyed Altasaur, 5 red for a 6/5 dinosaur with Reach and Trample and Cascade. Natural Reclamation, 4 and a green Cascade, destroy an artifact or enchantment. Garruk's Uprising, 2 and a green, enters if you have a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have Trample. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters, draw a card. We have Brelos of Ferris Band, 3 green for a star, power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. When it attacks, draw a card, then put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Gaia's Anthem, 1 green, creatures you control get +1/+1. Just a nice Cascade target that allows your creatures to enter a little bit bigger. Dryad's Revival, 2 and a green, return a card from your graveyard to your hand with flashback for 4 and a green. Fertile Ground, enchants a land, then that land taps for an additional mana of any color. Rampant Growth, searches for a basic. Secure Tribe Elder, same thing, but on a body that you sacrifice to get the Rampant Growth. Utopia Sprawl, much like the other one, but you can only enchant a forest, and you do have to choose a color as it enters. Vastwood Surge, searches for 2 basics, puts them onto the battlefield tapped. You can also kick it for an extra 4 colorless. If you do, put 2/1/1 counters on each creature you control. Migration Path, same thing, searches for 2 basics, but this one can be cycled. Ranger's Path, searches for 2 forests, puts them onto the battlefield tapped. Druid of the Emerald Grove, 3 and a green for 2/2. As it enters, search for 2 basics, then roll a d20. 1 through 9, put those into your hand. 10 through 19, put them 1 on the battlefield and the other into your hand. 20, put them both onto the battlefield tapped. Beanstalk Giant, 6 and a green for a star. Power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. It does have a sorcery, 2 and a green, search for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. Shoots Down, 3 and a green, exile an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. And Shower of Arrows, 2 and a green, instant, destroy an artifact, enchantment, creature with flying, scry 1. Into some lands, we have Cascade Wolf Run, which is a good way to dump some mana into something and hit something really hard. Blighted Woodland can be sacrificed to search for 2 basics. Cinder Glade, Mossfire Valley, Game Trail, Sulphur Falls, Fiery Islet, Ferris Lake, Vine Glimmer Snarl, Yavimaya Coast, Waterlogged Grove, Flooded Grove, Overflowing Basin, Exotic Orchard, Command Tower, Sea Gate, there's those gates you can grab with the navigation orb, Cliff Gate, Manor Gate, Frontier Bivouac, and then some islands, mountains, and forest. That's the deck. I hope you enjoyed it, but we'll see you next time.